Receiving an inheritance from a deceased family member can be a blessing, but without careful management, it can become a curse. People who suddenly come into a relatively large sum of money sometimes encounter the same pitfalls of those who win the lottery. The average retiree plans to leave their heirs an average of $177,000, but many of those beneficiaries don't know how to best leverage it and perhaps even pass it on to another generation. More than 1/3 of all inheritors see either no change or a decline in their wealth after receiving a sum of money. How can it be that people are reporting a decline in their net worth after receiving a windfall? In the same way that lottery winners or high-paid athletes find themselves in more financial trouble after striking it big, inheritors often overestimate the true value of what they've received. This results in wasteful spending on fancy cars, vacations, and other luxuries instead of putting that money to good use and spending a small portion. An inheritance could potentially change your life forever, so make sure to properly allocate that capital. Here's what you should do if you receive a sum of money as an inheritance. My name is Chris, and I help teach people about money, personal finance, and investing. If you're interested in improving your financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this video is helpful. Don't make any decisions right away. Although you might be tempted to race out and buy a new car or plan your next vacation, don't make any large purchases until after you have a plan in order. Upon receiving a large amount of money, it's hard to gauge how far that will go and how long that will last. For many, it's often much more than what they're used to handling. Furthermore, if you've just lost a family member, that death can make it even more difficult to make sound decisions. There's nothing wrong with keeping the funds in a savings account for a short period of time. Letting your inheritance sit in the bank for a little while will ensure you make the most of that cash. Building an emergency fund is a critical component of a stable financial future. Having 3 to 6 months of expenses in a savings account that will only be used for emergencies will prevent you from going into debt when unexpected expenses arise. Once you deposit money into an investment account, taking it out before the date you've originally planned is the last resort. This is because withdrawing from investment in retirement accounts can result in penalties, taxes, and losses from selling assets at the wrong time. Keeping cash reserves will allow you to sleep better at night and keep stress levels to a minimum if and when your income becomes reduced. Consider whether or not it's worth paying off debt. With mortgage rates at record lows, many homeowners advocate to invest any money that would be spent paying down their mortgage. Earning an average rate of return in the stock market of 10% is higher than most any interest rate a bank is charging for a home loan. However, the risk entailed with investing that money needs to be weighed against the guaranteed return you'd receive by paying off debt. Any high-interest loans, such as credit card debt, should be paid down immediately, because more often than not, the interest rate charged is 20% or more. That's much more than the average investor will receive from the stock market. Once you're debt-free, you'll have much more money to put towards other things. On the other hand, putting any money that would be spent paying down debt into investments will allow it to start compounding much quicker. Which option is better depends on the interest rates on your loans and your risk tolerance. Investing is what will ensure your inheritance is able to grow and continue to provide for your family in the future. Simply setting aside money in a savings account or under your mattress isn't enough, as the value of that cash will be eaten away by inflation. Many aren't aware that the average rate of inflation is around 3%. Put another way, in order for a dollar to maintain its buying power, it needs to be earning at least a 3% return, significantly more than the 1% interest most savings accounts are paying. If you're not sure what to invest in, conduct your own research and don't listen to anyone who could be benefiting from you taking their advice. Be wary of any friends or family who try to convince you of their amazing opportunity, or a financial advisor who might not be looking out for your best interests. As well-intentioned as they are or might seem, no one cares about your money like you do. For those that are completely lost when it comes to investing, simply open an account with a reputable company like Vanguard and invest in the S&P 500, which will return 10% per year on average and with minimal costs. About half of adults say they're behind on saving for retirement, so if you're part of the 20% of people that will receive an inheritance, it's a perfect opportunity to get caught up. The amount you're left with after building your savings and paying off high-interest debt might not seem like it'll make a dent in the amount you'll need for retirement. That's okay, because when invested earning a 10% annual return, your portfolio will double about every 7 years. If you have 20 years from the time you'd like to retire, that means your investments will double about 3 times, growing exponentially each year. If your retirement is perfectly on track and you're on your way to surpassing your goals, it might be a good idea to set aside money for your children's education. There are plenty of ways to fund college expenses without depleting an inheritance. If you're behind on saving for education costs, funding an ESA or education savings account is a good option. Stepping over your retirement planning to fund your children's education might be well-intentioned, but it's not always the best idea. Put your finances first because your children will have their entire life to plan for retirement. On the other hand, your working years might be limited. Besides, making progress with your own finances puts you in a better position to help your children in the future. Lastly, there's nothing wrong with spending some of your inheritance. Actually, spending is an important aspect of having a rigid financial house. The reason for this is that if all you do is pinch every penny, delay gratification, and save for the future, burnout is common and likely. People who get so sick of saving and being extremely careful with their finances sometimes snap and make a ridiculous purchase that erases the entirety of their progress, or even more than that. Once all of your obligations have been met, it's okay to splurge on a new car, trip, or home renovation as long as there's plenty left to fund those expenses. Donating to a church, charity, or organization can also be done at this point. After all, the person who left you their estate would probably want you to enjoy the money after rationing it responsibly. If you're of the group of people who are lucky enough to receive an inheritance, you'll want to do everything you can to ensure it improves the lives of you and your family. Don't race out and spend it the day the money hits your bank account. Instead, consider how to make the most of it so that it can continue to enrich your life forever. 5 or 10 years from now, you don't want to be wondering how all the money slipped through your fingers, which can even be a sign of a bigger problem, poor financial habits that will haunt you forever. Consider paying off debt and fund your retirement, and think about funding college expenses for your kids. Invest for your future and make donations if you'd like. Finally, teach your children how to handle money so they're able to make the most of the inheritance you'll leave them.